guys, how's it going? Today I want to give you a tour through our greenhouse, which is technically a giant cold frame. This is unheated. We've never really done a tour through here. Definitely haven't done one in the winter time. So I hope that this is interesting to you guys. Russell is crawling on the top. Russell, what are you doing? Anyway, I hope it's interesting to you guys. All the plants in here are dormant, so a lot of them have already been cut back. But I thought we could talk a little bit more in detail about the specs of our greenhouse and why we decided to go with this one, because there seems to be a lot of questions about it. Plus, we've done a number of videos in the greenhouse recently with all the plants behind us, and you guys have been asking for a tour. So anyway, it seemed like a fun idea for today. I think we should probably start on the outside though, so I can show you at least what the front of it looks like. We post enough pictures about it anyway. So Aaron and I put this greenhouse in the very first fall, right after we had moved in, and we were, look at him up there, naughty. We were a little tapped out financially because there's so many different expenses when you're moving. I mean, you guys know. So we decided not to go with the end wall kits because they were kind of expensive. Like, they added a couple thousand, maybe even a little over a couple thousand more dollars to the cost of the greenhouse. So we decided to go with wood. But I did want to go with wood anyway on the front at least, because I knew I wanted to have it framed in so I could put shakes on the front, because it just it elevates the design of a big plastic greenhouse. And you see this from a lot of different angles at our house. You see it driving in. So I wanted it to be pretty. And then the doors are custom. I wanted them to be able to open them really wide to get lots of carts in and out of here. And this is clear plexiglass instead of the greenhouse plastic, so it looks more greenhouse, like glass greenhouse-esque. And this is the same plexiglass, same type that we used on the chicken run. So anyway, just wanted to show you out here because I really like it. So you can see the back wall there has been framed in with wood as well, but just we used regular greenhouse plastic. It does allow for a lot more light to come in too. Like, we didn't want to cover up too much of the outsides with, a solid. Like, if we look back at the back side of this wall, and I have it painted just to make it look a little bit prettier, but that does block a ton of light, which is kind of defeats the purpose of a greenhouse, I guess. So we figured that one wall was enough to do this with. Russell is trying to get leaves on the outside. Russell, he's just probably popping holes all over in the plastic right now. Hey, get off of there. Off. Oh, he's so naughty. So this is 20 feet wide and 36 feet long. And if you take anything from this video, if you ever decide to put in a greenhouse and you're considering between two different sizes, go with the big one. I honestly go with as big of a one as you can fit in your space or afford, because you will always, you'll never regret having the bigger size. You'll always fill up the space. I was kind of not stuck with this size because this has been a really great size for us, but I didn't want it to be any longer because it would have come out further than the barn, and I think that would have looked a little weird. And if I did it any wider, we wouldn't have been able to get a car between the greenhouse and the barn, and we wanted to have full access to the back of the barn if we needed it. But this has really housed everything beautifully. I don't think I've ever wintered over as many things as we have this year. We did a late shipment last year of plants and didn't get through them all. So I've got a lot just sitting here waiting for spring projects, which is exciting. It's fun to come out here and have something to look at and to mess with. The tables here are custom made. Aaron built 8 of the tables to begin with. We wanted them to be a specific size. And we couldn't really find what we needed for a cheap enough price online. So he made them out of pressure treated 2x4s. And this is like hardware cloth on top so that water can go through. But these are the perfect width or depth for 2 flats of plants. So we typically have a ton of annuals in here in the spring, and we need as much space as we can get, and as much space off the ground as we can, so we can fit them 2 deep on all of these tables, and that really is helpful. On the second round of tables that we had built, we had wheels to put on either side, these big wheels here, and then there's handles on either side as well. So we can open the doors, wheel out the tables. They're actually not hard to pull even with plants on them because the wheels are so big. And it's been really nice. I think we may build 5 more before spring hits, because you guys should see this in the spring. I will try to remember to post a picture, or maybe we'll do another tour, because it's incredible with so much color and so much beautiful things, so many beautiful things going on. Before I get too far, I did want to mention that we are standing on gravel. We have landscape fabric laid down. We did that first. So we had the greenhouse built, then we put down landscape fabric, which is the DeWitt Pro, and then a pretty good thick layer of 3/4 chip gravel, which matches the rest of our driveway. The reason we did that is because we don't have the time to weed this area, and it would be a constant weedy mess. I mean, think about it. We're watering all of these plants, and a lot of them get fertilizer a lot of the time, and so we'd just be like, we'd have a flourishing weed crop. So we needed that landscape fabric down, because we can't spray in here either, or anywhere around any kind of weed control that way, because of all the plant material that we deal with. So it's worked out really well. When we do videos or projects here in here in the winter, sometimes we'll turn the heaters on. We've got 2 of these just portable heaters. But oftentimes we don't run these, because what happens, especially if there's a layer of frost or a light layer of snow on the top of the greenhouse, the heat will make it melt, and then it'll like condense inside, and it seems like it's raining in here. So I'm like trying to do a project and it's just raining on my head. So a lot of times we just bundle up appropriately and come out here, and it's totally fine. I don't think I mentioned that in the summertime, we have the greenhouse fabric rolled up and tied up on the outside, and it goes up to this board that runs horizontally there, kind of where the shade cloth comes down. So there's airflow all the way through the sides, because both sides are rolled up and both end doors are open all the time, and we have fans running. So there's quite a bit of airflow, but the piece of shade fabric is really handy too. You can actually order shade fabric in the exact size you need it, and they have grommets. They'll put them in for you. So they put grommets as often as you want them. And I just had them put in like every 18 inches, because I thought, well, while you're at it, you may as well put grommets all the way throughout this whole thing, so I can tie off however I need to. Technically do not need to be using the shade cloth right now, because the sun is not intense, and it would actually maybe even warm up a little bit more in here during the day, but it's a pain to put on and take off all the time. So we just leave it on all the time, and it works out fine for us. So I think there's really nothing else to talk about infrastructure wise, except for just looking at a few plants, which I think we should start in the front, because there's the prettiest like specimens up here. Well, first of all, you can see all the True Drop containers. These have all of the bulbs in them. Hopefully you just saw the video where I planted all the pansy seeds. So this should be a really fun experiment just to see what happens with these. Kind of clustered around on the ground here, I have a couple of Black Hills spruce that I brought home for holiday container projects that I didn't end up using, but I have spaces out in the landscape that these are going to go. We've got a container here. I grew a garden treasure tomato in this obelisk, and there's a rosemary that's looking amazing. Look at that rosemary there. It's not hardy enough to withstand our winters outside, but it's doing beautifully in here. A little bit of oregano. I had an amazel basil right here. Of course, didn't survive. And then I've got a gaillardia here. This one is called Heated Up. Now, don't look too close at the foliage, but there's still some color on it in January. Isn't that amazing? Love that. I've got some heucheras here and carex, so apple twist heucheras that are looking really, really good. There's some spearmint heucheras here. Can't wait to get these out in the landscape. I hate to have things in here when they could be looking so beautiful outside. We've got some heucherellas, or no, these are tiarellas maybe. No, the heucherella called I Spy. Fun and Games I Spy, beautiful leaves on that. And then we have a lot of heucheras that I used in containers outside, like fall containers or any kind of container. We try to pull any perennial, like I always say in videos, that I pop them out, pot them up, and either bring them in here or plant them out in the landscape, and we truly do. Like I use whatever containers we have around, and we pop things out of containers and bring them in here. In fact, these are some vinca that I used in containers as well, and we potted them up and brought them back inside. We've got some lemon coral sedum, which is still looking really good. Look at this. We've had such a beautiful winter, so it's still looking pillowy and awesome. I've got some under the grow lights inside as well, and it's doing really great. Black mondo grass. There's a Hidcote Superior lavender. Oh, it just, see, this feeds me. Just being able to come out here, just like touch plants, and even if they're not looking amazing, and smell them is awesome. There's a couple of sweet romance lavender. These are the ones that are planted out in front of our vegetable garden. And I have a plan for these too. All of these are actually not Proven Winners plants in here. We end up with a lot of Proven Winners cans that we like to recycle as much as possible for our own purposes. I've got Rudbeckias. These are the autumn colors Rudbeckias. You can see the picture here. I put these two specifically, came out of the urns by our parking area from our fall containers. Got a couple of just random grasses that I didn't end up using in fall arrangements that we will use this next spring probably. A couple carex that are cut back. These were by our gazebo area. Then I've got some small evergreens here. I always like to pick up stuff like that when I see like small, especially small evergreens, because we do a lot of miniature gardens and it's always really fun to be able to come out here and, you know, actually have some of these on hand, because those kinds of things are all like near impossible to find this time of year. I've got a clematis right here. Look at this. This is a Sweet Summer Love. I actually just cut this one back the other day. And the Dusty Miller from my little fall display around our fireplace area outside is looking awesome. Isn't that cute? I should put that back out on a table somewhere. We've got some Gem Box Ilex. This is Inkberry Holly right here. These are North Star Boxwoods here in the terracotta. And then I've got a couple of Sprinters right here. Then this is kind of our rose section. So we try to keep everything together. Like roses and hydrangeas and things like that. I've got a couple of At Last, a couple of Live in La Vida, which are these bright pink right here. I actually have a spot. I think these are going to go in our corner garden possibly, where our fountain is. We've got some Sunuritas. These are gorgeous. We planted some of these in my brother-in-law's garden that we did last year for video. I've also got a couple climbing colette roses. So I planted 2 climbing colettes on our arbors for our vegetable garden. And they've got beautiful, like David Austin-esque looking, full cupped, soft pink blooms. They are probably one of the most thorny roses I've ever grown. So like keep that in mind if you ever want to grow that variety. But I almost don't mind it because the blooms are so beautiful. Right here, we have the lemony lace elderberries that were in our pots back by our back formal garden. And we needed to move those containers and I needed to have everything taken out. So we cut everything back. The anemones are in these pots and the elderberries are in those 2 pots. So we'll be able to use those out in the landscape this spring. So we really do try to be, I don't know, we try to save, yeah. We try to save our plants as much as possible and use them in as many applications as we can, hopefully ending up with them in the landscape somewhere. You can see like these beautiful Arctic Fire dogwoods here, the color just shining there. We've got some Holy Grail hibiscus. So these are the deep red blooming hibiscus right here. These will be the last ones to come out of dormancy in the spring, every year. We've got some Winterberry hollies. I think these might be the males though. Are these the males? This is berry heavy with no berries on it yet. So I'm going to try to get those planted somewhere nearby a male variety outside. We've got Lady Godiva yellow calendulas right here, which were planted in this vertical tower last May. I think it was in May when we planted these. Isn't that incredible? I mean, I could spend some time deadheading these and kind of cleaning off some spent leaves and such, but they are still in full bloom. And they have a new one coming out this year. I just told you guys about it in a video, Lady Godiva orange, which I'm excited to grow, to have both the yellow and the orange. I've got some fine line buckthorns right here, which are an amazing screening plant. I saw these, well, we've been selling them down at the garden center forever. But I saw them in their mature state at the garden at Four Star Greenhouses. There's a display garden for Proven Winners, and they have these fine lines growing, and they were so gorgeous. So I've got, I think, 5 of them here, and I'm going to try to find a place where I can put them in some kind of a hedge sort of situation so we can see how awesome they grow as a really thin, thick hedge. Bright neon yellow fall color, which is absolutely beautiful. We've got a black cat pussy willow right here. Come check out these. You gotta look at these buds. Look at these. They're about ready to burst in here. I cannot wait. Oh, Russell is still on the top of the greenhouse. This center table, I've got, well, first of all, little quick fire hydrangeas down here. And they look good. Still, like, I'm always like checking the flexibility of the branches. But they're gonna be awesome this year. I've got a couple of the snapdragons that I grew from seed last year. Chris popped these out and thought it would be fun to try them in here, just pot them up and see how they did in the greenhouse. Then I've got a few things from Little Prince Plants. They sent over ferns and some campanula, some other like kind of random things. There's some hardy orchid here. I just didn't have a chance to get them in the ground because we did get those plants sort of late. And then another sprinter. Look how organized I am. That should be on the other table. That should be here. I did notice that this little cabbage has aphids, so I just cut that off earlier today. I'm gonna go give that to the chickens. They will appreciate that, I'm sure. So let's head over to the other side. This is the fan we use. Benjamin likes to come out here and he turns it on and off and on and off and on and off. Keeps him entertained for a really long time. But it works well. We'll put it like right in the opening of the door and it'll like suck air from outside and just push it right through. It's perfect. Yellow twig dogwood. Isn't that pretty? Love, love it. And I was just noticing this earlier today too. This is the Tough Stuff Aha hydrangea, and we have buds. When I see that, I'm thankful that they're in the greenhouse right now and not outside. That's probably why they have buds, because they're staying warmer in here. We've got some Kodiak orange Durvellas. This is so weird. Now, I was noticing this earlier. Got something growing on the top. What is that? Like there's little flower cups and seeds inside. It kind of looks gross. And I don't really want those seeds to spread because I don't know what it is. I'm gonna throw those away. Ah. And then over here on the ground, we have a bunch of random things. I had some Lady Godiva yellow calendras planted in a pot that are looking good. They are kind of succumbing a little bit to, I think, the humidity in here. It's pretty moist. So I'll probably start running the fan here pretty soon. And then I've got a bunch of perennials that have been cut back. So White Wands Veronica, you guys know how much I love this plant. I ordered a bunch of these so that I could plant them on the west side and I just never got to it. But this one was still like, there's a bud right here. Look at this. There's a bud like getting ready to bloom. And it bloomed for so long that it was the last one. I'm like, nobody touch that plant. I just want to see the color. Even if there's one bloom on that plant that looks good, I want to see it. So anyway, that one's still shining, looking awesome. We've also got some Pink Potion Veronica in here as well. We planted some of those along the west side of our house, like up against the house. And a lot of sedums, which if you look in close, you can see the growth already starting. See right there? Those little rosettes coming out. Next is Orange-U Awesome Echinacea. And I think that's an Orange-U Awesome too. I'm not really sure. There's not a lot going on in there. So it was just kind of like mixed in. So we'll just have to see if anything grows. And that happens occasionally because all of these plants, if we have any on hand during the season, they're outside. We don't keep them in the greenhouse because it's better for them to be in the sun and get all the wind and all of that stuff. But sometimes they lose their tags and we don't know what they are. So we just have to kind of wait and see. Oh, I wanted to show you this, you guys. Look at these. This is the Boogie Woogie sedum. Look at how pretty, how bright pink that new growth is. I always seem to remember that I see that kind of growth on sedums right around Valentine's Day, and it seems so appropriate. A couple of passion vines that I grew last year, and they're not hardy enough to live outside, and I thought we could try them. I only grew them as annuals. I thought, you know, I'll just enjoy them this year and they'll probably die and it's fine. But we got them into the greenhouse in time and I think they may survive because they're looking pretty good. It even looks like they had put on like some little new growth here, little new growth right here. We've had a pretty warm winter. So we've got some Achillea or yarrow right here. There's one Firefly Sunshine left. I planted all the rest of them. And then the Firefly Amethyst. Then we've got some really fun evergreens. So I've got some Tater Tot Arborvitas, which we've done a video on these before. They were formerly called Tiny Tot, I think. and were renamed Tater Tot, which is awesome. I think that's a great name. So they've got their winter color right now, which is kind of this bronzy, but you can see like the nice deep green that they have, but they stay really small. We've also got some Gin Fizz junipers here, which are brand new this year. They grow pretty good size, like 10 to 18 feet tall and wide. Got to have a good space for this, but junipers do really well in our area. They're super low maintenance, don't need a lot of water. And they create a lot of juniper berries. So this one, I want to site these somewhere. I'm going to figure it out because I love to cut junipers for holiday projects because of the beautiful berries. Then we've got the Celtic Pride. We did a video on this particular evergreen. It spreads out really wide and stays really short. And this is its winter color right here, kind of this purpley bronze, and it's a really nice kind of medium green in season. And then we've got a couple of my galvanized containers from Gardener's Supply. You can see them right there. I don't know where the small one went off to. Did I use it in something else? I'm gonna have to go search. I'm gonna have to search for that. Anyway, Anna's Magic Ball. I've got a baby blue spruce here. This is a Super Bells white. No, this is a Super Tunia white. Still looking like alive. Be interesting to see what happens if I cut that back in spring. Maybe it'll come back. And then I picked up a few echinacеas that I thought were really pretty. These are called Lemon Cream Double Scoop. Of course, they're all cut back right now. I've got 3 of them there. And then I've got a bunch of the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta, which I did plant some of it behind our gazebo this last year. I planted some in the cottage garden around the chicken coop, but I want to amp up my display. Apparently this type of Nepeta, I haven't been growing it for long enough to know personally, but it's not supposed to be as much of a thug as other Nepetas are, like wanting to take over a spot, which honestly I don't think I would mind this one taking over because of the color and just the whole structure of the plant. It's beautiful. We've got some Amsonia here. This is the Storm Cloud Amsonia. I'm always looking for growth. I don't see any yet on, oh, maybe deep down in there. Anyway, I've got 3 of these planted. Oh, here's some growth right here. Yep, see that? Oh, there's a bunch right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 little spikes already just in that one spot. It's exciting. I have 3 planted up by our Versailles garden. This is a sedum called Yellow Brick Road. Move it into the shade here. But this is just a nice green ground cover sedum that has beautiful yellow, like covered in yellow blooms. And I did have these last year when they were blooming. They're awesome. Then I had a sage in that all white pot that I planted out by our vegetable garden. It was kind of like mid-season when I planted it, and there was a Bergarten sage that I didn't want to lose. So we popped that out of the pot. Everything else was annual, I think, in that pot, except for the white geraniums, which are inside in my plant room, but the sage made it in here. I'd like to do a little hedge of this Bergarten somewhere. I just love this plant. Jack of Diamonds Brunnera. Planted a bunch of these out this last year. Beautiful. Like, look at the hand in that picture and look at the size of the leaf. That's truly how big these leaves get. So keep your eye open for this variety because I am loving it. I've got some miniature Japanese maples here. They're all different varieties. I know I've got a coral bark in here. There's a butterfly, I think. I don't remember all the names. I saved all the tags there inside. And then the last little bit in this corner, this is one of the Green Mountain cones. I had a pair of them by our door, like underneath our balcony. And one of the boxwoods, it lived in there for 2 seasons, I think, and then it bit the dust. This one's okay though, so what I was planning on doing is just taking it out of this pot and planting it somewhere in the landscape this next spring. And then I've got my 2 Spanish dagger yuccas, which I think are ozone 7. I'll look that up, but ozone 7, so we brought them both in here, and they look great. And then this is the little planter from behind the chicken coop, which is looking really good. I did pop a heuchera out there because I needed it for another arrangement. That's like the name of the game around here, like just kind of shuffle plants around for all different purposes. And then real quick, we've already showed you this. We have our hose link out here. This is our retractable hose, which I'll demonstrate quick. It retracts like this to whatever length you need it. It goes up to like 82 feet. Then you just tug on it slightly and it coils itself back up. It's a game changer. We're gonna install one for my parents in their greenhouse down at the garden center this spring because they're so awesome. Like everybody should have one. And then we have a little extension cord out here too. So when we're doing projects, we can just pull the cord out And this is typically where we do projects here. This is a Gardener Supply potting bench. It's like the perfect height. So we leave it here all the time because I keep some random supplies underneath. Like I've got my Rose RX under here. This is to take care of mainly aphids that I find in here, which is not very often, thankfully. But if I'm working on anything, cutting stuff back, I usually don't stand at the tables. I bring each flat here and I'll have my kangaroo bag on one side. I'll do my work, put all my junk in the bag, and then take the plants back. And that's just kind of how I operate in here. So anyway, I realized that this is an insane amount of plants to have at a home garden, because this is our home. This greenhouse is at our home. But this has kind of become what our job is, and it almost feels like an extension of the garden center, of growing up at the garden center. I'm kind of used to plants coming and going. We certainly don't sell plants out of our house or from this greenhouse at all, but you know, we work really closely with Proven Winners and are super thankful that we have them as a partner, because honestly, it's so awesome. They've got really good plants, and we typically, though, like I said, don't have this many to winter over. We just did kind of a weird order thing last year, so it may not always be like that, but I have to tell you, I'm kind of excited about it because I get to see a lot of the things wake up this spring, and then get to start maybe a little bit earlier than I am used to. So anyway, thought you guys might enjoy seeing what's going on out here. I could spend all day, every day out here, like honestly, because it's just so therapeutic. It smells good. I mean, you guys can imagine the smell of the soil and the plants and all that sort of thing. So I'm just super thankful that we have it and that we were able to put it in because it's been the best thing. I mean, we've done several projects. The vegetable garden's awesome, and the brick pathway and all that stuff. But in terms of practicality and usability, this is the best thing we've done here. So anyway, if you are ever in the market, we will put links to what we bought in terms of like the style and the size and where we bought it from down below, so you can check it out. And they've got all different kinds of sizes too. Anyway, yeah. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Also, really quick, I didn't talk about any of these plants right here, and we get asked a lot what this is. This is a Japanese maple. It's a Crimson Queen. No, it's an Emperor 2, I think. I had this in the gazebo this last season, and we moved it in here. And now these don't lose their leaves until the new ones come out in the spring. So it's like this mass of dead leaves, but you have been seeing it behind me in videos, and a lot of people ask. And then this right here is a clematis that we have usually by our back kitchen door. So anyway, I just recently cut that one back. There's a lot of green life in it. And this has been living in this container for several years. And then I've got strawberries down in here. Lots of stuff going on.